Thank you. I wanted to first off thank the people that came, some of them town employees, to speak tonight, and some of the people who had called me the last couple of days. When I read the agenda, I didn't think there was going to be an opportunity for the public to speak, and I had told them probably erroneously not to bother to come. You know, people who stood up and asked some specific questions, I'd like to maybe try and address some of those specific questions from my perspective, obviously. People are throwing around the issue of, you know, the money. Where are we going to get the money? A year and a half buyout represents a year and a half of the town budget. The town budget for this year is roughly $160 million. So if you take half of that, it's $80 million. You have a $240 million budget for a year and a half's worth. If the numbers that are being thrown around are fairly accurate, let's say it's $240,000 for the buyout for the year and a half, that represents 0.001% of the budget. Now, we got rid of, or did not refill, our recreation director's position when he retired. What was done was that his job was parceled out to different people who now take that position because of the rules that we adopted from the state on early retirement. The position has some different technicalities, but this is not something that has been lightly thought of, and it has not something, for me personally, to be something where I have no contingency plan and I have no idea and we're just going to wake up one day and say, well, gee, who's going to run the town? You know, General Patton didn't kick Rommel out of Africa all by himself. He got a lot of the credit for it, but he had a lot of good officers under him. He had a lot of good men under him who do a very good job. The town manager has assembled an excellent staff of department heads who do a great job, many of them, and put in many, many long hours attending town council meetings, attending workshops, attending committee meetings, and doing a great job. There are department heads who are very qualified and would make tremendous additions if the manager chooses to accept this contract amendment, to step into the role of temporary manager while we go through the process of vetting out and finding a new manager, if that's where it goes. Some of the accusations being made that somehow we're following through on this or we're rushing this through in secrecy and like that, a lot of the discussions are personnel matters. So they're not open to the public by law, not by choice. Now, many of the people in my precinct have spoken to me about the manager's position. And I say to them, you know, the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And there have been many, many great ideas and many great things that this manager has done. And I will never take that away from him. But when you're a figurehead, when you're at the top, you get an inordinate amount of credit and you get an inordinate amount of blame. And I see someone who, quite frankly, looks tired. Tired of the process, tired of the attacks, tired of the newspapers and blogs savaging him and his name. A name that I would say is highly respected in this town. And his dad, too. This is not a personal attack. I stated in different meetings, and I state it again. I believe it's time for a change. Disagree or agree with me? I believe it's time for a change. I don't believe that this is going to be a monumental financial hardship to the town, again, because of this very small percentage of it. And there are positions that maybe a new manager may decide don't need to exist. And maybe those funds are found somewhere else. But I've sat on this council for a year and a half and watched many appropriations go through that I did not think were appropriate, and I voted against, but I was voted down. So when it's a certain purchase of property or when it's a certain budgetary item, all of a sudden there's a majority that has no problem spending. Now, everybody wanted to hear, okay, what's your opinion? Why do you believe this? I stated it because I believe it's time for a change in this town. It's been 12 years, and I believe it's time for a change. And I don't believe we're going to be financially impacted by our bond rating. because it is not one person that makes up the town of Barnstable. It's all of the citizens, it's the land values, it's the borrowing, it's a lot of the department heads who have done an excellent job with their department. Now, I appreciate the president's call for transparency, but I would like to remind people that on a couple of occasions, we've asked to have investigations formed to look into some of the matters that we feel, and I personally feel, have not been fully vetted and addressed, and questions have not been answered. And I have been stonewalled on questions that I would like answered. So it's ringing a little hollow with me when someone cries transparency when we wanted to get to transparency and we couldn't get the votes for it. Now, personally, I don't have a problem with a council that's split 7-6 for one issue or another, because there's some issues that go through 13-0, there's some issues that go through 12-1, depending on the issue. Each person up here was elected by members of this community. So we represent members of this community. And if the community is 7-6 or 51-50, that's the community we represent, and that's how we're going to have to manage. But this, somehow thinking that we're a banana republic when multiple issues go before this council that are voted on with tremendous cooperation, with tremendous, kumbaya feelings, and now all of a sudden this one issue is so divisive we're not going to rise from it? It's ridiculous. He has done an excellent job. But just like the fastball pitcher that used to hit 94, 95 miles an hour, sometimes you get down to 89 and a manager or team representative, team owner has to make a decision. Has to make a decision that, you know what, it's time for a change. And that's my personal feelings on it. And I'm happy to speak to anyone that would like to. I spoke to several people over the last few days, and I will continue to speak to people in my precinct and around. Thank you very much for your time.